The Chronicles continue. This week, we're in the Broken Hoof, back in the Cantina, talking Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
That's our main topic this week. Just sort of like overall gameplay, early thoughts. Nothing too deep or spoilery in terms of like talking the overall game and the experience so far, because I don't think a lot of us are very far in the game. But
yeah, most of us aren't very far in the game. Grant, where are you? just right now. Where are
but
you?
First, but well, I mean, I did roll credits on this game.
Okay. Just had to get it out there.
So one of us has, and then the other
amazing.
two are basically working through it. Early game. I'm sure that reflects the audience. I'm sure a lot of people are early game. I'm sure a lot of people are mid game. I'm sure a lot of people are, possibly near the end. And so there's who knows where people are at with the game, but we're expecting everyone to sort of be in the initial stages of the game because it just released today. This is the release day of the game. We pre-ordered.
The official release.
We've been playing for a few days, but so we'll talk the game. But first, we have news items this week. Adam, do you want to start us off with the news?
Sure. So this is more of an update than anything breaking, but we've talked comics. We'll talk comics again soon, maybe next week. But as we know, we've talked about the Star Wars main run and Darth Vader, which are the only current ongoing continuing series, are wrapping up. So's part 1 of Phase 3 of the High Republic is wrapping up, and they announced at Comic-Con. I can't remember. It must have been Comic-Con. It wasn't D23, right? It was Comic-Con, I think they announced.
Yeah, I think so.
That they're releasing some comics that are going to tell the Battle of Jakku, the story of the Battle of Jakku, written by Alex Segura, who wrote Poe Dameron Freefall and also did the Edge of the Spider-Verse comic for Marvel, which is pretty solid. But what we just found out, what they just announced the last day or two, is that the entire story of the Battle of Jakku is going to be told over 3 4-part series. So 12 comics in total, 12 issues in total. And the first part, it's very Star Wars, right? You're going to have a trilogy of tales to tell this. And the first is called Insurgency Rising. The first 4-part series is called Insurgency Rising, followed by Republic Under Siege, and then Last Stand. And they showed the covers, and boy, are the covers a ton of Luke, Han, Leia, and Lando, right? They're very much clearly saying we're going to get our legacy Star Wars characters, and they're going to be the forefront of the Battle of Jakku with some other...
Right, you're also seeing some variant covers, right? Like, it looks like there's a character in what looks like almost like we'll talk about the Ashiga clan when we get to Outlaws, but like Zori Bliss, almost like this sort of helmet and this design of the armor, and this character standing amongst like what looks like a junk field and broken down Star Destroyer. It's like a very cool variant cover that we're just now glimpsing in this kind of like preview. I think there's more Ewoks to come too. I don't know if you're reading Ewoks, but
I did see that there's I didn't get to see a ton of it, but there's going to be some more Ewok stuff, comics and otherwise. So not done with the Ewoks. And this Battle of Jakku, they are advertising it as basically the quote is the saga that bridges the original and sequel trilogies begins this October. So they are kind of dipping their toes into this time period.
There is a cover with Bosk and another bounty hunter. I don't know we've seen before. Maybe we have. But one eye is like an IG droid head, and the other eye is like the organic regular eye.
Yes, maybe. What that sounds...
I think this character, we've seen this character in Vader, possibly.
I feel like we saw that character. I'd have to see the cover you're doing, but based on your description, I feel like that character tried to assassinate Mon Mothma on some moon.
Okay.
Like, I feel like we saw that character.
Right. I think you're right. Yeah. Yes, we did. We did.
I don't remember what. It's comic.
That's actually right.
Yeah.
That's a cover. I think they're just previewing a lot more covers I've seen lately in a couple articles that I've seen. But yeah, so many fun comics ahead. I heard Dr. Aphra's coming back. Is that true?
I don't know. I didn't hear that, but that would make me very excited. I'd be surprised if she's not gonna come back. Right? She's kind of a breakout character.
Yeah,
right? It'd be weird. I mean, in terms of like in comics at least.
Yeah, I feel like if she comes back, it should be in live action, and that should just be the thing,
Yeah.
That show would be the perfect show for right now. Honestly.
I know. Yeah. It really would. It just to tell just a swashbuckling tale. I don't know what's wrong with my voice today. I haven't had anything to drink really.
Yeah, I would love an Afra show or something. We talk about that, I think, every week. So here's another one.
I mean, yeah.
Here's another one. Yeah.
Well, so what's our other news topic? I think we have big news in terms of major star talking about their role in, I think, the future Mandalorian Grogu movie, right? The film?
That's correct.
Yeah, we've moved from Matt Smith territory into confirmed territory. As I always refer to, super rumored, he's definitely going to be in it, is Matt Smith territory.
Yeah, before.
I have to admit, that was my favorite pod I've done with you guys, is just talking about the theories surrounding Matt Smith's involvement with episode 9. Was just, I think, my favorite pod we've done.
He's on the cutting room floor somewhere. There is a Matt Smith cut.
There's a Matt Smith cut.
Release the Matt Smith
cut. But yeah, so Sigourney Weaver is officially talking about being in Mandalorian Grogu, and I think she, didn't say a ton, but just said she, I think as of this week, has officially met Grogu. So
yes, she said I got to meet the little fella. It was cute. Sigourney's a legend. Fantastic. Finally, get her in a Star Wars. That's a huge card to pull out of your deck there. Your proverbial star deck. Yeah.
She's so good. Like, she is someone who most of us met her first, depending on ages, in Alien, right? And just like what a kind of coming out of the gate. I mean, she was in stuff before that, but kind of just this announcing yourself as a major star, and she makes every movie she's in better. Like, I don't know how to say it. It's gonna sound like a backhanded compliment, because it is a backhanded compliment, but like, for me,
I don't know.
She's what made Avatar watchable.
I was gonna say, I don't know if she saved Avatar, because she was great,
didn't,
but it was still like Avatar was just a retelling of sort of the.
I mean, the way I would say is Avatar is bad despite
horror,
despite Sigourney Weaver. But she also made me want to watch Avatar 2 because she's a character in her mocap. Notice I said made me want to watch Avatar 2. I still haven't watched it, but I still that's the one thing that I'm almost like, maybe I'll check it out.
I've watched it.
Sigourney's in it.
Sigourney's great.
Yeah, how is it?
She's fantastic. She's I think she plays like a teenager, which is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Right? Like a teenager Navi. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what they're called.
I was just like, ooh, things go explodey and like crazy blue people running around. Like I just sort of, it's just eye candy, pretty much.
Yeah, it's mainly just eye candy, but it feels like it just feels like a surface layer,
it is
telling of sort of a story that maybe deserves more gravitas and maybe deserves I don't know, maybe slightly more character development. I don't know. I don't know what's missing from Avatar, honestly.
What's missing from, I don't know what's missing, but all I'll say is that's what James Cameron does, right? James Cameron does spectacle with little depth.
Yeah.
Even though he's made some of my favorite movies. Like, Aliens is damn near a perfect movie, but that movie doesn't have a ton of depth to it. It has more going on than Avatar, but like, it's a pretty straightforward action film. A lot of his stuff's pretty straightforward when you break it down.
Yeah.
Like, Terminator 1 is just a slasher film that he decided to add time travel to.
Okay. Yeah.
No, she's incredible in it, and obviously sci-fi royalty, having Sigourney Weaver in Star Wars is going to be truly special. I'm excited. Do you think she's going to be playing a villain, or do you think she's going to be part of the New Republic? Like, I mean, Sigourney Weaver for president is such a cool concept that, like, I would love if sort of she is the successor to Mon Mothma. Like, gets that basically like the leadership role of the New Republic. That would be really cool.
This is why she's amazing, because my mind went the exact opposite direction. That I can see her as the big bad.
No, right? There's an Alien Resurrection like villain character too. That's like crazy. Like, like an imperial fascist character,
like remnant.
Yeah. I could see her with like a pixie cut, wearing a like an officer's uniform, and she'd be a great, I guess, great like warlord or something.
Yeah, warlord, or what if she was also head of like a crime family, or like even the bounty hunters guild? Like maybe she's the big head of the Yeah.
I would honestly love like a Diva Lompop, almost Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Character.
Oh, totally.
It's like a little bit of makeup or application or mocap or something.
Full mocap again.
She's just like crazy cool sci-fi creature kind of character.
I love that. Diva Lompop would be sick. I think I like your like bounty hunting guild theory because we do need someone to sort of fill the Grief Karga role.
Yeah,
that could be it.
Was such a great sort of like hub for all bounty hunters, like sort of like a orbit for them. And then sadly we lost Carl Weathers, and I know, just extremely tough because like who could fill that, like that promise and that sort of like top of the bounty hunter chain, and who's the prime bounty hunter, kind of character. Like Sigourney Weaver is a huge star. Like this is the perfect person to sort of jump in and sort of we get back to the underworld and the bounty hunters and things like that. Although Din did say he was working for the New Republic now, so
but still, Grief Karga's role, like with the Mandalorian, like on the down low, was bringing him the news, like sort of telling him what's actually going on in the galaxy, because like Din Djarin has blinders on. It's just like the next project, but like whenever he talks to Grief Karga, he's like, oh, you don't know, but this is happening here, and there's a political shift, and people are taking, he's up on all the all the information, and really fills in a lot of blanks for him.
Yeah,
like an info broker.
He's a great NPC in an open world game. Not that I'm trying to transition us, but like, and that sounds so. But like, I feel like it feels so much like that. You stop back to the there and get your information. Two things. One, just to speak on Carl Weathers, because this also just happened the last couple of days. He just got his Hollywood Star of Fame. He got his Walk of Fame star.
Such incredible news. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that.
Yeah, I just saw that, and his son was there to kind of do the ceremony and everything, which was bittersweet, but wonderful. Yeah. On the other side note is if she is kind of filling that role, I want her to also say Mando, but in a very different way, which is like Newman would do in Seinfeld. She's like Mando, like just like annoyed whenever she sees.
Fun.
That's so great.
Yeah, all this news is fantastic. I didn't really say anything about the comics, but the Battle of Jakku through the eyes of our, the big three, I'm really excited about that. It's almost a shame we're not getting it in some sort of live action or animation. That's kind of how I love
that's a great
stories,
call. Animation would be a great vehicle for sort of like bridging the original trilogy to the sequels.
Yeah.
They need to do more of that outside of just the Clone Wars era stuff. They keep doing that. Like, I love what they're doing there, but like maybe dip their toe into more animation to tell some of these filler stories.
I think it would practically it'd be kind of difficult because it's sort of like, that like Mark Hamill would love to voice Luke Skywalker in something like that, and he would probably do it, but Harrison Ford never would. And then what do you do for Leia? So it's like, do you just mix and match like that? Do you get like all different actors, like voice actors to play them? Like, how do you, it's a little bit of a tough spot. I think it's
tough, but I mean, they did it in the Clone Wars, right? It wasn't apart from the Clone Wars movie and Sam Jackson, everyone else and all the other ones were, sound-alikes or,
I wonder if Lucasfilm could just repurpose the title Aftermath and just do like a animated series that's sort of the aftermath of the Galactic Empire. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's just such a great title that if you could just recycle that and run it back on an animated show, it would be perfect.
I saw on Instagram and liked it, but I saw someone who created remember like Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Jedi, who just made a giant. It was like a 5x5, so it was like 25 tales of possibilities, and it was just like some of them were so amazing. Like one was like Tales of the Chiss, and I'm like, oh, it just broke my mind of like how far that could go, right? Like you could just tell, you just keep doing that.
Yeah, I saw that same infographic, and he actually used the right fonts and made like logos, like the real looking logos for all of them, which is
totally
but like Tales of Droids and like there's a million you could do. I've been thinking about this if you don't mind a non sequitur here. I've been thinking a lot.
I hate those. Grant and I do not like those, Ben.
I know.
Don't you dare go on a tangent that I'll love.
I know. I don't know. I think you'll hate it because it's just like it's about us. Like I feel like we are a very small percentage of Star Wars fans. Like if you're listening to this pod, or if you're hosting this pod, we know all the characters, all the timelines, the minor characters, the ships, like all this stuff. It's like tough for like Lucasfilm to surprise us with anything. It's like if you're actually paying attention to all the stuff, which very few people are, but it does. That in mind, they still make a lot of stuff that I feel is just targeted for me. I've been talking to a lot of people lately that are just sort of really didn't like Obi-Wan, really didn't like Mandalorian. And these are casual Star Wars fans, so it's not like, there's nothing political there. They just are like, meh, I don't really get it. But I feel like, obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi's my favorite character. And, most of people's gripes are that, like, you had to get a whole hero's journey. And, like, they're like, I love the end, when Obi-Wan Kenobi was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And same with Boba Fett. But I've been hearing that a lot lately. And it's kind of surprising. Like, I want to start thinking about, like, what sort of stories would bring casuals in that we could do. Well, instead of just, like yes, we would love Tales of the Chiss. And, like, can you imagine a bigger, like, anything less popular? I mean,
right, but I feel like, the thing I'll say is that is such a low risk thing because those animated series are just literally they're just for us. Like no one else watched Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Jedi.
They're actually for casuals, like the sort of intermediate people, because like we don't need Tales of whatever. It's like, well, we read that in the Ahsoka book. Like we saw that whole arc pretty much.
That in particular,
and it's for people that I think don't read the books and don't read the comics. And sort of just do the live action and animation stuff.
Can I try to answer your question, or at least like my thought on what you posed? Because I think what you're saying is spot on. I mean, I think it's weird that they don't like the Mandalorian because I feel like, I think Mandalorian season 1 was like that. Was
a lot of people specify season 3 for some reason. People didn't like season 3.
Yes, I could understand other than us not liking season 3. It threw my wife for a loop because it gets...
Was it too dorky because it's like the
No, it was a repeat. Like you got more Moff Gideon sort of plotting.
Okay. It was somewhat repeat. It was also just not this... It became less episodic and more of a grand tale. It became less about Grogu and Mando and more of this giant other thing. So I get it. But I don't think it did anything. I think that's why they're doing the movie, and that kind of brings me to my thought is, do you know what Star Wars needs is movies. It needs movies because movies are for the cat. To be honest, the movies are for everyone. For all, they have to be. They're so expensive. They get everyone on, and you get enough people going to see the movies. You get people signing on to the series, like so. Marvel is I always bring up Marvel because it's Disney and it's also Disney Plus. But they were doing that for a while, and then the movies kind of fell out from under them. And what else is now going away from them? The series. No one are watching the series because no one's watching the movies, right? Like you have to get people into the theaters to get them to watch the stuff at home. That's my thought, at least.
And it's going to be so great when they embark on a whole initiative to create new films in a new era of the timeline because they won't have to answer all of these lingering questions about the heroes we know and love from the original trilogy and all this sort of legacy material that they used and commented on and sort of almost like remolded the original Star Wars and sort of tried to rocket it into production as fast as possible to make all the money back from essentially purchasing Star Wars, the IP. And in so doing, they sort of just jumped into this thing where it was just very sort of, I would say, highly debated amongst fans, like the sort of the backgrounds of these characters and where they ended up and sort of how the story was unfolded and things like that I think that Disney was sort of like in the muck and mire of sort of dealing with that and the fandom, that once they start new films and new stories and they really can capture the essence of Star Wars and sort of like do create a new ensemble that we just know and love and are super iconic, and then they're just living their own lives and having their own journeys that aren't connected to these Skywalkers or like the Palpatines or just anything that has to do with the Clone Wars or the Galactic Empire. It's just a whole new sort of territory. I think that'll really bring a lot of people back into Star Wars if it's kind of built in.
Can I tangent on your tangent for a second? Just to kind of, this is just a little anecdote. So I started teaching our semester started this week, and I started one of my classes, which is criminology goes to the movies. And so I start that first class kind of talking a bit about my journey with movies. I do a fun icebreaker with them of like, this is my favorite movie that I tell people is my favorite movie. This is my actual favorite movie. Like I do that thing, which is like I tell everyone Jaws if I don't want to have a conversation, and if I want to have a conversation, it's Night of the Living Dead. And I talk, and then they're like, wait, what? And so I talk to them, and I do this like 10-minute like diatribe on Night of the Living Dead and why it's like why I think it's the perfect film, to show them like your love for things. And I make it very clear in the class that we're not going to yuck anyone's yums, right? Like everyone has favorite movies, and it's all, this is, so we have this whole thing. But I go through the movies we're going to watch for the season, which are 7 of them. And then I talk about some other stuff, and I always get like show of hands, like who's seen this, like, and just to get like a good thing. And I'm like, I'm so psyched. Like none of them have seen Rebel Without a Cause. Great, they're all going to be exposed to this film. Like they've never seen that before. The weird thing is, so I went through. It's chronological. I get to 1990. They're watching Boys in the Hood. I said, who's seen Boys in the Hood? I have 12 students in that. All 12 hands went up. Fascinating. Wow. 19 to 20-year-olds have all seen, because the thing is the 90s are alive. Once you get to 1990, all the hands go up. They have not watched anything before 1990. Yeah. Yes. And so then I talked about, somehow I got to, I was talking about Ernie Hudson in the movie They Hand the Rocks to Cradle. Long story. I will not talk about why that happened, but because you don't need, because it's boring. But I realized, I'm like, do you know who Ernie Hudson is? And like, no. I'm like, well, you might know him from Ghostbusters. Did anyone see the newest couple of Ghostbusters? Crickets. Because no 19 to 20 to 25-year-olds saw any of the new Ghostbusters. We did, and maybe some other people did, but that's the demographic. And I asked them about Star Wars. Nothing. Not on one of them.
I find that hard to believe.
I'm a statistician. After the Underworld draft, I think Mara Jade was the biggest missed opportunity of all time. Because I think like we're already in a sort of like, I don't know, a sort of sex negative environment in entertainment, and it's like a romance with Luke would be actually quite compelling in Star Wars. I think that's actually what like people want, maybe. And then if that sours, and she's a Force sensitive, and there's 2 incredible wise Jedi out there, and instead of 1, that's just as interesting. I think focusing on Luke.
We are in a very sex negative, but that's starting to break. The cracks are there, because like the romantic comedies that are breaking through suddenly are like the more body ones, which are it was really interesting, because there's none of them, and now it's like the one with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell, which is like a blockbuster, which is very like
territory. I think we were overloaded for a little bit, and then we came down, and obviously
everything's
a lot happened since then. That's just been good, incredible, and then now sets are safer now, and so it's just like sort of like
you can do this without fear of the actors involved with it.
There's a much better
happening behind the scenes.
It's much better, but it's also like it's basically like, I think people loved those Legends books because you sort of loved the romance with Luke and Mara Jade, and Talon Card is, always, trying to flirt with Mara Jade. There's a whole thing with just Mara Jade, which is being an awesome character, and sort of.
She was a great character. I mean, those books are a mess. But the one thing that does work is the Luke Skywalker Mara Jade of this like of a farm boy falling in love with an assassin. Like it leads to this amazing thing of them both bringing out the best parts of each other, which is kind of amazing. It's really well done and heartbreaking as that series goes on. I won't say more, but like you really feel it when certain things happen. Yeah. I don't know why I'm spoiling. I don't know why I'm like avoiding spoiling a broken.
I might read it someday. Actually, you never know. You never know. This days may come when I need nerdier Star Wars than what I'm getting, and like I've got to.
I'm just joking though. I just feel like I don't have any complaints about what happened. Really, I feel like the story is very good in the direction it took it.
But the other thing I was gonna say about kind of like the I'm not saying we need an R-rated like sex comedy in Star Wars, but like we did get a bit of sexiness in The Acolyte. Right, like Grant and I, like the one episode you were gone, Ben. Like that's all we talked about, because it was like amazing to see that though in a Star Wars, and it felt like new and fresh, even though it was like also fairly tame. It's as most of Star Wars can go, but like you saw his like back and like maybe the top of his crack, and it was just like, whoa, like what are we doing in Star Wars?
Yeah, it was like we're going into a good territory. I was like, this is good. Like this is art. This is what you want to do is sort of like show the artfulness of people being without, you know, attire at times, being free. Like that's part of being force sensitive, I imagine, right? Like there's a whole part of sort of meditation and being force sensitive that I imagine is sort of like embracing all aspects of yourself. And I feel like if Star Wars just sort of runs it down the middle when it's doing a force story, it's like, you're not covering romance, you're not covering attraction, you're not covering attachment, like this. And then attachment was just, there was such a, that note was just strummed so hard in the prequels that it's like, we need to answer this in so many ways right now, as a sort of continuance of the IP. And the Acolyte attempted to do that.
Yeah.
And then the show gets canceled, and I'm like, okay, so Andor
too
has
it.
Andor has it. It's incredible, actually. And Andor, it's just it's
they cut away a little too quick.
The love story. Bix is just a friend,
well, he does sleep with Bix, but like it's heavily implied. I'm not saying we need like a full sex scene, but you could have cut away a minute later. Do you know what I mean? Like literally, just like you see them kind of embrace. It cuts back. You see him getting out of bed the next day.
Getting out of bed with
no, that was on
the night before.
It's not Bix.
I think you're confusing.
No, that's not Bix.
No.
I'm just saying the way they write Bix.
But
just seems like there's a romance.
I would have to rewatch. But there is a scene where it's not that.
I don't
but it's
think. I mean, it's implied they definitely had a relationship in the past, but I don't think in that weird timeline they hooked up at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
she was sleeping.
You've seen it.
Yeah, she
recently,
like drunk dials. What's his name, Biff or something?
That's the one I'm thinking of.
That's where we see some skin,
but like
and it's implied they actually.
No, they're put on
it. You're absolutely right. So, but my point is,
there's how they're written is a romance, right? Like how Bix and Cassian are written is essentially like I'm coming back for you. And you covered me, and I'm covering you, and we watch each other's backs. When we're there for each other, and we trust each other, and there's just like this deep trust. And I would say, possible love, possible romance that's there. Like that's kind of what I was getting.
She's almost
maybe
family to him. You know, it's like he can't save his sister, but he can save Bix. You know, his biological sister.
Yeah.
But
right. Yeah.
Which I always forget is the subplot of that show because it kind of like it's there, but I like that about it because it's underneath that. It's the undertone of everything that's happening. But no, so Ben, thank you for clarifying that because you're right. That's the scene I'm thinking of. But regardless of whether it was Andor and Bix, my point is like sex is implied. I'm not saying sex needs to be showed, but like you can imply it a little more by like cutting, like having an embrace, having a little more cutting. We don't need to see skin or anything like that necessarily, but it's just like.
Don't you think like the
weird.
Acolyte season 2 was going to basically do that? Like basically get into a lot of Hitchcockian, hide the actual romance, but lots of romance, sort of Star Wars.
So, like, all crudeness aside, what do you think happens 2 minutes after the door shuts on the shuttle that they get into together?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like, come on. There are two very attractive people who like each other and are attracted to each other. The stuff's gonna happen. like, come on.
Season 2, sure. Yeah.
Again, we don't need to see it all, but like, let's not also, be like PG about it. Like, we can be PG-13 about it.
Yeah. Star Wars can take more risks in terms of that because I think there's a fan base. I'm just trying to think about, again, Ben, you say we just represent a very small percentage of the fan base. I think we would all be happy if we just got like, lore, rich sort of stories of, Jedi doing heroic deeds, knight errant sort of stories. We would be satisfied, and we would probably just
just
I don't know. We wouldn't need much after that. We'd be like, okay, where are we going next? Great.
I would be the like Leonardo DiCaprio meme when they like put up like Nar Shaddaa on the screen, and I'll be like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Absolutely. Like that's all. That's all we have.
No one else would care.
I think we're probably like a very sad.
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't hurt or help. Which is actually how Marvel was doing it for a long time in Phase 1 of Marvel. Like there were like drops that had nothing. Where I was sitting there going, "Oh my god, I can't believe they mentioned that character," and everyone else is just like, it did not affect their viewing at all. It was like a blip on the screen that just didn't take them out of it. Didn't have any impact. But I got it right. So what I want out of Star Wars is I want them to keep making movies that are for everyone, that are really well crafted, that also do, as the original did, a ton of lore bombs that then can be explored in comics and books that only we will read. That's all Star Wars.
And that's kind of what they do.
Make it for the masses, but include a little bit more for the rest of us who want to like,
I think they're doing a
great
job of that currently, though. I think that's what they're doing right now, which is sort of like there's lots of little Easter eggs for us fans who have read every book and have watched every episode of the Clone Wars. Like, there's so much for us, right? But just general audiences are coming to it and watching a lone wolf and cub sort of bounty hunter and kid, sort of story, and they're in The Mandalorian and having a great time doing that. With
I think the two shows that were most successful with that were Mandalorian season 1 and The Acolyte season 1. I think Andor is really good too, but you need to have watched Rogue One. But I think that's a low bar, so I think I would include that in that same list of things. And I think Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, some of the other ones fall a little lower, where you need, especially Ahsoka. Ahsoka's way at the bottom of that. Like, you need so much prior knowledge to really jump into that show effectively.
I think Mandalorian was so successful because all you would have needed to watch before The Mandalorian is the original trilogy. Like, it's just a matter of someone in your life showing you the original trilogy, and then when you watch The Mandalorian, you're like, oh, this is just after Return of the Jedi. Like, that's great context. And then it gets muddied when you go beyond that. That's what I think Lucasfilm has a very difficult time with in terms of guiding its audience and fan base. It's like, okay, this is between The Mandalorian and Ahsoka. But then, when they travel to this planet, they spend about 3 years there, and then it's after Ahsoka, and then it's whatever. Like, they're doing Skeleton Crew or something, like. Yeah. So it's just
ironically,
it's tough.
In a show called The Mandalorian, it ironically gets the most muddled when it starts bringing in Mandalorians.
Well, that's what I was just gonna say. They actually did a really cool trick, like accomplished something amazing, where they made the wider casual audience love Mandalorians as much as the hardcore like Star Wars fans that have always loved Mandalorians. Like, they really dove into the lore and the religion of what it means to be a Mandalorian, and that was the most compelling part of that. I think it made them seem so cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. My wife had no questions about the Mandalorians and no interest in learning more about them. Does that make sense? Like, she's just like, no, I got it. I totally understand who these people are. They did a good job of bringing me in, and she loves. Why am I blanking on her name? Bo-Katan. She loves Bo-Katan. Like, she's all about Bo-Katan. Yeah.
Bo-Katan is rad.
We should really talk about this game, guys. We've been going on.
Yeah, we should get into the game.
Okay. Can I?
Changing gears.
Sorry,
let's talk about
schooling our hypercoils, our hyperdrive. We're gonna launch into Star Wars Outlaws.
Yes.
Can
I tell you?
Dying to talk to you guys about this.
Can I tell you what happened to me 5 minutes before we started this podcast?
Yeah.
So I came up, my video game system is in my office where we record, so I'm like, I'm going to fire the game up, so just so I have it next to me in case I need to look at it for any points. But I'm like, I'll play for 10 minutes while I'm waiting for the guys to jump on. So I'm I'm on my speeder, I'm going from one area to another, I go off a cliff, and then I then accidentally ram myself into a Imperial tower area. I get up from my speeder. I know where you are. Yep. The Imperials are not very happy with me.
They're upset.
So I take my blaster out. I kill 2 of them. I accidentally don't reload my blaster fast enough, so I run up and just run and punch another Imperial in the head. I run around the back of it and then punch another Imperial in the head and then climb up the turret and knock the other person off the turret. And I'm like, and then I go down to a data spike, slice it, and get a ton of loot inside. And I'm like, I'm Han Solo, man.
You're a Han Solo.
That was it was like Han Solo. I accidentally threw myself. I fell off a speeder into the middle of a ton of Imperials, and just all I started doing was shooting and knocking people out. And I'm like, this is why I love the game. We'll talk about my issues I have with the game, but I'm like, that's the moment where I'm like, yeah, this game's pretty cool.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty great. Yeah. Sorry, that moment happened. I'm like, it's amazing.
And that's just probably a few minutes of gameplay. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
I was surprised by. And so we're gonna not get into spoilers here. Like we said, Grant's finished the game. We're still very early game.
Ben and I are pretty early in on.
Yeah,
on it.
I mean, this really to me feels like a real AAA Red Sox Star Wars game. One of the best quality ones I think I've seen yet. I mean, the Survivor was fantastic, but this one feels like a first quality Star Wars game, and it's so dense. it's just so.
It's very dense.
It's quite dense.
Like everything, all these like NPCs that are like interactive. Like, have you guys eaten food yet?
Oh,
no,
it's
you can eat food.
It's a mini game for eating, and that's all I'm going to say. Because it's amazing.
This was the thing that I was most excited about talking about this. And this is a good for our listeners. Is like, I've had about 12 hours of gameplay. Grant's played for like 80 million hours already somehow.
17 hours I finished
17 hours.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really funny because we have very different ways of approaching the game. But like, but I'm like, there's stuff like I know hasn't happened in this game. Even if we've all played around the same amount of time. So the second you all said like, there's a place you can eat food. There's a food thing in this. Nope, I have not encountered that. Have you played the original Star Wars
video game?
Video game in the game?
I've played 2 video games though.
Yeah, they're very much like the old wireframe Star Wars video game, like the old cabinet games. Yeah, those are amazing. I did that.
It's like the swoop racing from KOTOR and like the Galaga-esque Star Wars game.
No, I haven't played either of those. I played the old wireframe like
the wireframe.
Do you do like a Death Star run and stuff like that?
Yeah, almost, but it's very similar. They don't quite go that level, but it's exactly based on the same animation, the same.
Oh yeah, and you're like really flying, and like you're shooting. Yeah, oh my gosh, it's just like green lines. That's really fun.
Yeah. So then once you do eat the food, you unlock the recipe.
Yes.
What? There's recipes in this game,
but the recipe is like a buff for Nyx, right?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's a Nyx buff or kind of ability or
Can I? So this is going to be very freeform because I'm saying it's going to be very freeform because I want to ask a random question before we jump into this, like maybe a little more structured. So I was a little annoyed because I started playing this game and I pre-ordered it, and with the pre-order you get some bonuses of things, and I'm like, why can't I access any of the things that I pre-ordered? And then you hit a moment where you can't. Yeah. Right. So I got to that point. What did you? Who are you dressed as right now? Did you? Did you? So you can do this thing where you keep the appearance. So I've kept the appearance even though I'm wearing buffs and stuff. I'm fully dressed as Han Solo. Like that's also why it was the most Han Solo moment. I have the Han Solo outfit. Nyx has the little like the Chewbacca bandolier. Like that's
cute. What do you think my Nyx is wearing?
Oh, the head,
Lobot
head. The Lobot. Yeah, I thought of you the Lobot.
That's fantastic for the follow Nyx sort of side quests where you're like following through like tall grass and you can see his blinking lights.
Yeah, the blinking lights actually really help, like just to see him.
I haven't done, but so here's the other thing, I haven't done one of those missions.
He leads you to treasure like in the open world like all the time, basically.
Nope, haven't.
You just mean like the mechanic to like kind of.
Just mean following him in general.
Yeah, he will lead you.
Oh, well, I did just...
Oh, okay.
And they're not even main quests or anything.
I did just unlock something...
Oh, he senses something.
I unlocked something where he will lead you to treasure. Or, like, do something so you don't miss treasure. And, again, I'm probably 12 hours in. Or 10 hours, and, like...
But...
That just unlocked that.
I think what we're getting at is just, like, again, this is what an open world game does. Like, it depends... heavily on the path you just choose to go down. You'll eventually do all of the stuff if you do all of the stuff. But like I am constantly doing missions where I have to sneak into bases, which stealth is my least favorite mechanic in any video game. It is not me saying it's bad, it's just not who I am.
Yeah.
As a video gamer, so I'm just like, I don't like this. I find this tedious. I want to rush. I rush it. I get really anxious. I'm an anxious person.
That doesn't go well in this game.
I'm very anxious. This is not the game for me in that reason. So, but I've gotten a little better at it. But so I'm like, I just started unlocking all these components and other stuff. And that's one of my other favorite things about this game is that for upgrades in a lot of other games, you have like a skill tree and you have to gain experience points. And this is actually really built into the world where you have to actually get like components to build things or get contacts who teach you things. It's need, like, really neat that way. I like that a lot.
Too. It seems really organic.
Yeah.
And exactly. And it's like I really like the skill tree. That was one of the first things I noticed. I mean, granted, it's expanded. There's so many levels of like skills to unlock. Like I don't think you could ever do them all. Like, I mean, I guess you could, but like
you're talking about the experts.
But it's also
of like
so there's an expert thing. You find mentors, and mentors teach you different skills, and you'll have like 9 mentors eventually. But you have to meet them and pursue it actively. And there's a lot of distractions out there, let me tell you. But there's also the like the main system that was said before, the game was released, where this reputation system is very interesting. It's almost like a skill tree in and of itself.
You gain the more reputation you use, the more bonuses.
Yeah, the bonuses. Yeah, like each faction will give you better bonuses if you rank all the way up on them. So that's how I thought it was kind of a little skill tree-ish. But
you have to do contracts, and then you can find sort of syndicate-based handlers that give you the contracts, that offer contracts, and then you can do a Crimson Dawn contract. But you got to be careful in doing those, because you got to read the mission description, and you could be screwing over another syndicate, basically, and then you basically lose points to one, gain points to the other. It's just. You basically always have to go against the Imperial.
Yeah, so let me. So wait. Let me.
Contracts.
I need to ask a question that I think you've kind of answered. Is that like you meet your contact and she introduces you to Crimson Dawn, the Huts, and
the Pikes.
Who am I missing? The Pikes. I went Crimson Dawn immediately, because how do you not support Kira?
Yeah, we know too much. This is the thing where it's like we know Crimson Dawn's the coolest syndicate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But my question is, like, she's your contact.
Crimson Dawn a little bit.
Yeah, I unlocked all the blaster appearance and the attire. I unlocked all of that. I went full excellent with Crimson Dawn, and I got lots more Kira storytelling. I think
this is and they revealed in the trailer that Kira's in it. So this is my question.
This is all news to me.
Oh, she's in the
trailer. You just forgot, or maybe it was the episode you were not.
So.
Maybe it was the episode you were on.
I actively forgot.
Well, who would be leading it right now?
Right.
We just read those comics.
But didn't know.
It would be
Kira. I mean, she was in the. No, she was in the trailer, wasn't she? But see, this is why people with bad memories have great lives.
Okay. I also came to the realization that Jabba's alive in this timeline, because my timeline stuff's always hard, where my brain is just like, oh wait, no, where? Oh wait,
Jabba's
alive.
Can we talk about timelines?
It is not spoiling anything by saying the heads of certain syndicates that we know are the heads of certain syndicates in this era of the timeline. So I think we're okay.
I still have to get to my question first before just about this, because it's now for me, my own personal listeners may not care. So, and I think you kind of answered this, but like I got super anxious. Not super anxious. Yeah, a little bit anxious, to be honest. When your contact's just like, well, be careful because you can't please everyone. And I'm like, that is the worst thing to tell Adam. He can't please everyone. So is it possible to get to excellent for all three syndicates?
I'm working on that right now. I'll get back to you next time we talk about.
But I like this idea. If I guess if you always select against Imperials, that will help, because you're not going against any of the other syndicates. But I just didn't like that. I'm like, oh man. It's going to make me really anxious.
That's the fun replayability, right? You want to see what you can do. The first time, maybe you're just coming through, but it's like, I don't know, if you got an idea, why not try it out? You'll probably be able to pull it off, Yeah. You just might have to.
Thematically, I sort of made the Huts my enemies, though. I was like, I want to make them upset. And you guys have already walked past Hut territory in cities, I imagine, at this point.
Yep.
So you understand
one city.
Huts.
2 cities.
Nonetheless, I believe there's probably territories, right?
I've run into Hut territories, Pike territories, Imperial territory.
I haven't.
All right. Right. This is amazing. It's just kind of amazing game. It's 10 hours in. We're all having very different experiences. I mean, when we're all 50 hours in, we'll have done everything. But it's 10 hours in.
It's going to be a lot of hours.
Maybe
really. So you've been to a city and you haven't stumbled into any territories of any kind?
I mean, territories, but not Hut territories.
But have you sneaked into their areas? I'm trying to break into Crimson Dawn's vault right now. I have 2 of the 3 keys I need.
No. I mean, I was.
Yeah. You're deep in it. You're deep.
Yeah, I can't help myself with side quests.
Yeah, I did the Pike vault. Did you do the Pike vault, Adam?
Not yet. No. Okay. No, I'm all about Crimson. Even though I'm pro Crimson Dawn, I accidentally keep selecting things. So I went from the little bit positive, and now I'm back to neutral poor. So everyone hates me. Everyone hates me right now.
I'm a Crimson Dawn rock star.
0 reputation.
Right I'm just gonna push this one. I wanted to max 1 first. So
if
I go anywhere, they all hate me. Everyone hates me.
I mean, that's very Han Solo.
Yeah, I'm excellent. I'm good with one, excellent with another, and poor with 2 right now at the end of the game.
Makes sense.
Wait, so there's
because I've upset a lot of syndicates.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that makes sense.
I imagine like Imperial and Rebellion are going to be
Imperial Rebellion. Oh, that makes sense because they are part of the narrative at the very beginning.
Well, if you go to reputation screen early in the game, I think right when you're in like the first city, you can see all the different.
They do show you in the databank like the I think under lore or worlds.
What's in reputation, Adam? Like what's in our reputation?
So here's the thing. So if I'm in factions, is that it? Pike Syndicate, Zarishbeth, Crimson Dawn, Cartel, Galactic Empire, Rebel Alliance. So I bet you're right, Ben. Right. It's Empire and Rebellion.
And Zarish.
Okay,
is like that's.
And then you guys didn't watch any of the trailers or anything like that. Okay, I've already spoiled something, I guess, but it's not even a big deal.
No. If it's in the trailer, I think it's fair game.
This is broad faction stuff. Faction stuff. The faction system is a pretty big part of the gameplay. I like it. It's fun, but like you're saying, Adam, it is tough trying to please all parties.
It's not
selecting the right contracts to do that.
I want to make that clear. That's not a game glitch. That's an Adam glitch.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Adam. I'm not like in Assassin's Creed. It is just like pulling teeth for me to do the like stealth missions. But this game,
but I'm getting better.
I do have this sort of threshold. Like I learned how to do like multiplayer first-person shooters just because it was a Star Wars game. Do you know how much effort that takes?
Yeah,
a lot of effort.
A ton. That's a big skill.
But so I have a threshold for pain.
Feel
so
the same way.
I'm just gonna get into stealth, and I mean. One of my first missions, man, I died 100 times. And you lose money, I realized, when you die.
In this game? I'm losing money?
You're losing money, dude. Check your credits. So,
wait, are you guys using nicks and whistling and things like that to get them to go the opposite way? Are you using nicks?
Yes, 100%. Using Bix a lot.
Because that's like stealth assist, basically. That's like
it is
everything.
It is.
Easier if you just use nicks.
I'm starting to realize. The thing that I found, I've gotten better at it. So again, I feel like this is just a therapy session when I'm talking about what causes me anxiety. This game causes me anxiety.
It's Gamorreans. Once I saw the Gamorreans, I was
I'm psyched.
I haven't seen a Gamorrean yet.
It's causing me. So anytime I almost have to play this game on mute because anytime you're found out, there's this little like music sting that goes like, and I'm like,
it's like almost like a horror game.
I'm getting like a tick because of it.
They also vignette the screen when you're in like enemy territory.
Yes. I feel like I feel like I'm blacking out when I'm in like.
It's
cover.
very disconcerting. It's like you're nervous, so like you start to black out.
But like the thing that I found really helpful, like last night, like hour whatever, I'm like, oh, actually no, it's good to alert these people because I would alert them, pull them over here. And then take them out, and then alert another one, pull them over, take them out. And then I'm like, oh, once I did that, I'm like, okay, I can get through this whole thing.
Are you guys using nicks to attack one and then punching the other one?
Yes.
The one that Nix is on.
Yeah, I've done that with
I've used that to get through so many rooms.
Yes. Yeah. I'm starting to. Well, now when I got the smoke bombs, do you guys have smoke?
No.
Oh yeah,
smoke
grenades. Like, I just got those, and I'm like,
bombs.
Now I'm like, I'm golden. Like once I get smoke bombs, because now I can take out multiple people.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the multi takedowns are hard, but I'm sure it's just like they just put together a really nice collection of abilities and skills and like functions to make a really good Star Wars game. It's like they just fit together well. Like I don't think they're reinventing anything, but like you know, like they just pulled a lot of.
It's extremely solid. Like in terms of like providing you with a vehicle experience, a vehicle driving experience, sort of like a third-person action shooter, puzzler, stealth gameplay. It's fantastic. The ship combat, the space travel is great too. It is a lot of mechanics you've seen before in not just Ubisoft games, but sort of Uncharted games, things like that. Obviously, the Jedi Survivor comes to mind immediately when you're doing some of the jump puzzles and the stealth.
A ton of Red Dead, like the speeder mechanics reminds me of the exact same frustrations I had with the Red Dead Redemption horse mechanics, which is like I'm just going along and suddenly I'm flying off my mount.
I am such a bad
the outcroppings
driver.
Are brutal.
The majority of the damage I take in this game is just going from point A to point B in my speeder.
I am such a bad.
You're just emptying Bacta in your veins.
Right while I'm like just driving, I'm like I should be using Bacta when I'm driving.
I had a thing happen where I was having so you wrist comm like everyone apparently apparently has your number and can just like talk to you whenever they want, which is really disconcerting. Imagine if like your phone had no answer button; people just started talking to you. I was talking to a contact in a story. And in the middle of it, I just wrecked myself. I was looking to the left, and I didn't see a rock.
Yeah,
and I was like, and it's like, oh,
you hit a speeder with a family of 4.
Yeah, I know. And so I wrecked myself, and I like screamed, and then like pulled myself together, got back, and Kay goes, "I'm sorry about that. What were you saying?"
Yeah,
and then it picked up the dialogue
which is great. Like, I love that they built it in that.
I mean, that's so much more real. Like, she's like, "Oh gosh," like the other person's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Okay, sorry about that." And then she's like, "All right, blah 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 blah," and like continues her like speech about what's going on.
Yeah, I noticed that detail.
Here's my really quick review of this game. This game offers me nothing new in an open world game, and in fact, I would say it mimics things from every other game slightly under what that other game's doing. But we can debate, but like that's my thought. But, and I'm open to other people's opinions, but you're putting a Star Wars overlay over it.
Yeah.
Love it. It's all I've ever wanted. Yeah. It's like I will take an inferior open world game in a Star Wars.
It feels like it's very much its own game. It's not like, oh, this is just like a reskin of Horizon Zero Dawn or like, I imagine it to be a lot more like Red Dead Redemption, but it's not that. Like they've curated it to like feel like everything works within the Star Wars universe, and that makes it unique.
Can I give you an example? Of why you're wrong? Why this is not anything new ever? The data spike and slicing, that's Wordle. They took Wordle and put it in a video game.
No.
Wordle.
I mean, as a collective, that's what I was saying before. It's like they took all these really fun pieces, Wordle included. They even have a rhythm game with like the trigger, which I love.
The data spikes,
I was thought of you. I'm like, this is why Ben's gonna love this because he's a bassist, and he plays a rhythm. He plays rhythm, and I'm sitting there, the whitest like rhythmless person ever, going like dun dun dun.
The trick is,
and I'm like, I'm getting.
The trick
so
is to
angry.
not listen to the actual loud clicks. It's to listen to the little clicks because they like are semitones, and then they bring you. So you're like, oh, it's like 6 beats, and then you're there.
This is why it's important to know people with all different skills in your life, because like you just blew my mind, and now like you've unlocked it for me. Actually,
I found out that data spiking was a rhythm game, I was like, I need to power through this game to like see how hard this gets, and it gets crazy. There's some fun ones later. I was like, oh my goodness.
I'm like, this is fine. I'll do this. This is not my favorite. But now you unlocked it for me.
All right, going back to a point. It's just like, and they didn't do anything new, but like the way that they curated each of these little mechanics, like the what's it called, the adrenaline mechanic, and like with the multi-shot thing, they didn't need to pull that in, but they did, and it just as a whole now it feels like a different experience than any other game I've played.
I just side heavily, not because of anything the game did, but because this is part of what I like about the game. The game does not hold your hand. It is not tutorial after tutorial after tutorial. I've had to learn some of the stuff. So I understood the adrenaline thing, that I could use that when I was on my speeder bike. I just found out 10 minutes before this game started, 10 hours in this game, that I could use the adrenaline shot when I'm not on my speeder bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Just figured that out.
Just run around, dodge blaster fire until it fills up, and then just... Yeah.
I just found that out, which I love, which I kind of like the idea, but I do love, like, it's very, that's something out of Fallout, right? That's a very Fallout mechanic, but it's great. It's a great addition to, it makes sense to Star Wars. Like, you have that hit blast. Like I when I saw her on the ground doing that, wearing Han Solo's outfit, I'm like, that's Star Wars, dude. Like, that's like 100% Star Wars.
Yeah. You can regularly hip shoot. Anytime you just don't aim, you just hip shoot, and it looks so cool.
You just don't aim.
Just like,
it looks so good.
You see the draw and the fire, and it's like, it's pretty awesome.
Again,
I mean, she's
wearing Han Solo's outfit. So.
It's like, which is great. She's got a lot of swag.
And you can wear the Han Solo attire, I think, if you pre-ordered the game.
I am right now.
Oh, you are? Yeah, okay. Cool.
I'm
wearing all black. I'm wearing a stealth
Chewbacca's
boost.
Bandolier.
Well,
so here's the thing. I'm also wearing stealth boost, but you can change, so you can wear anything or get the attributes of anything you wear, but you can change your appearance So it doesn't change your appearance. Does that make sense? So like I will like, so I'm always gonna look at Han Solo, but get the added bonuses from those other things.
I like changing up the look. I get bored of a look after a while.
Yeah, I'll probably change for it.
And I just like to see organically how it changes. Right now, I've got some sick Crimson Dawn drip going on, and I know it's like lower level.
I think
but
once I get
still,
deeper,
it's still elite.
Yeah,
that's rad. I just love.
It's got a sweet charm that ups my HP randomly. So like I got like 6 bars of HP right now, which I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I thought this game was like pretty much like an 8 or 9 out of 10 for me. I just thought it just nailed it in terms of giving us that Star Wars immersive Star Wars feel. Like walking around a cantina. Like I've been to so many cantinas. I've seen so much of the galaxy, and then I don't know. Like there's a place in this game that you guys will go eventually, and like it is just vast, and it is like 1 for 1. Like what you imagine, and it's just such an
I think I know what it is based on what I've seen.
That's sort of like you've always wanted. Like you've played other games and explored this place and tried to look at every crevice and been like, I remember this, I remember that.
I'm not even gonna say it.
I know what you're talking about too.
Just I don't know, like for me that was the most memorable of my playthrough so far.
I'm gonna put something in the chat. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's
so exploring that world. And just the 1 for 1-ness, the sort of like the attention to detail, the sort of like just the perfect mirroring of what we've seen in live action, and what you want to see and what you want to do as a person in the galaxy exploring that same place. And I remember that just kind of blew my mind. And then so the attention to detail in this game is actually incredible. And I don't understand some of the lower scores that I've seen from a lot of outlets, gaming outlets. I think there's just like I think because Ubisoft does put out open world games, a lot of people are just putting those in their comparison chart and in their metrics. And I just, for me, it's like I think you have to just understand. Yeah, there's an engine. Yeah, there's an ethos, and the company has a sort of MO for making a specific type of open world game. There's a lot of like waypoints and going to waypoints and getting missions and doing side quests, and that's in this game. But like, to me, this is a 1. This is Star Wars Outlaws like 1, and then for them, all the systems that I saw in this game, I was like, this is actually all the systems you just need to carry forward at this point.
That's because the crazy thing about
you're doing seamless space, in-app to space travel. Yeah. You're doing all this seamless stuff that's actually just working great. That if we can just move this forward, if people can. This is the first one they've made.
This is the first. That's what's the amazing thing about it. Yeah, like it's like incredible. That is. I had that same thought of just like I was really like so. I went downstairs. So I was like, I had to talk to like my wife to be like, so just to let you know, this week, I'm gonna disappear after kids' bedtime, like starting on Tuesday. Yeah. I'm gonna like disappear for like 4 hours. And she's like, cool. Why? I'm like, playing my video game. She's like, what video game? I'm like, we watched the trailer together. She's like, oh, that's right. And I'm like, and then I came down. Not yesterday, maybe it was like, I think it was yesterday before I started playing the game. And she's like, what's going on? I'm like, I gotta go play the game. She's like, you don't like it? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Like that's where I was at yesterday before I started playing. Yeah, I was not into this game. And I feel like this is me in Star Wars. And then, so I'm wondering about people who are reviewing this game, how much time they put into it. Because then something unlocked for me last night and then today a little bit where I just got past a certain point. And like the learning curve on this, I feel in this game is actually fairly steep compared to things like Assassin's Creed. And once I like got over the hump of that learning curve, and I'm sure there's more challenges ahead, I'm like, the game unlocked for me in a way that I'm like, oh, I'm loving this idea of just like chasing this thing down, chasing that thing down, like looking for this component, looking for that. Like I just clicked. So I agree. Like, I think it is really solid. I think it's the fact that it's the first, and they're advertising it this way, which I think is the right way, is the first open world Star Wars game, which is also not true, by the way, because I played Star Wars Galaxies, which was the real first open world Star Wars game, but whatever. But here's the thing. I am really getting a Star Wars Galaxies
experience
feeling from this, where I'm just like, I can do whatever I want, and I'm like running into people and like doing these side missions. And that's the problem with this is like, Grant finished this game. I'm gonna finish this game in 6 weeks because I'm off on all these side quests. I want to build out all these things. I want to raid these vaults. I want to do all this stuff. Like that's where I'm gonna go. So I'm all in on a game that I was not. It took 4 extra hours of gameplay for me to be like Sold.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I would say for you and maybe other people that are having problems with stealth, and this is the lesson that I learned myself, there's always a back door. That's like rule number one, there's always a back door. And and that's pretty much it. And if you die, they will put you in front of the back door. So if you can't, it's usually hard to find. But if you die once, you'll respawn, and they will respawn you right in front of the back door. So you just have to look for it. That will.
Well, what was happening?
You can also take out every single person and then go in.
Sometimes it's like I don't know if it's a pinch choke point. And there's like 3 people, and if you hit them, there's a lot of Imperial bases are just crawling with people. Like there's no, and then they're actually built like bases, so there's like really only one way in. It's
Yeah, there's always a back door, but the thing I was running into is like the Imperial bases are fine because like I keep accidentally getting like warnings and alerts, but then I can go I can just like hide for a little while and get whatever. I was raiding Crimson Dawn, like their location. So like if you get found out, you get booted and it restarts the entire thing, right? Like it's not even like those are the ones that were driving.
Yeah, I had the same problem with the Pike facility, but but. After I reached a certain point, I actually respawned in the middle of the place, so I didn't have.
Oh, I did not after getting caught 25 times.
Yeah, if you like go into a room and like maybe collect something, like I got into a room, maybe like that was enough.
Once I finally got the actual prize, I was fine. Yeah, but like getting there was. And again, I think it's more me and the way I play a game, and I get very. I'm not a patient person. I'm a weirdly patient person in many things in my life, but when it comes to video games, I'm not. I'm like, I just want to punch you all. Why are you?
It is fun to just get into it, and you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
I get shot a lot.
Yeah, I am hoping that. I really like this game, and like I only give it like a 9 out of 8 or 9 out of 10, just because.
I give it a solid 8.
I think there's some narrative and character stuff that I was like, oh, if this was just, I think maybe done in a more nuanced way, or. I think I would have just thought this game was spectacular. But I think another thing holding the game back is that there's just a few features that I've experienced in other science fiction games that are just like it's just kind of sad they were just left out of the experience, which is just when you're in space, you can't just jump out of the cockpit and hang out in space. It's something that is just
it's a vacuum,
right there. Right? It's a very low-hanging fruit in like a lot of like games, and it's just fun. It's just fun to just get out of your seat.
You're breaking my heart.
Oh, you mean like getting out of your seat? I thought you meant get out of the spaceship in space. I'm like, it's a vacuum.
No, I know exactly.
No, I mean that's also cool. Like I would love to repair something on the outside of the spaceship, and that to like the immersion to even go further. I would love it, like honestly. But no, just the fact of getting out of your seat and walking around your spaceship in space. I don't think that's spoiling anything for saying that either, because it's just.
I remember after one of these podcasts, after I was talking about my experiences with Star Wars Galaxies, I found a YouTube video of a person taking on a tour of the spaceship that I had.
That's so good.
And I'm like, that just broke my heart, Grant, that I can't do that, because like that's all I ever want to recreate is being able to like get out of my seat and look around my spaceship
in space,
like, decorate it in space.
Yeah, you can do it when you're
set it up
landed, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's such a
but you can also like position it in front of other planets or nebulas and sort of take go photo mode. Like there's lots you can do with just sort of.
This is the wild thing about it. It's like I have done 0 time in space in this game.
Yeah.
So I can't even speak to that.
Yeah, I've only done a few. I mean I've done quite a bit in space, but not like I didn't do a lot of side missions in space. I'm going back and doing them all now. But and so I've only been in space a few times, just going. The few trips I've made, and it's like I've just noticed you can't jump out of your cockpit and walk around, and I was like, oh, that's kind of strange. That's left out. You can't use your blaster on your speeder. That's like just at will. You have to wait for your gate.
That is another thing.
Like, oh, this is missing. This is like I thought this was
unless you have that adrenaline thing.
I found that wild.
Yeah, that was wild.
I just keep going around. I literally kept driving around,
especially since other people can shoot at you. Like they have cannons. I don't know, maybe you got a cannon on your speeder, but like the regular like Imperial speeders have like cannons on the front of them. People shooting at you constantly.
And then finally, I think the last thing I think might be holding this game back is that I think with just how focused the game is on gunplay and sort of the fighting, it's like I think like maybe a bounty hunter game is in order, just because I think you want to collect those different weapons and you want your loadout to feature jetpacks and rifles and all blaster rifles and all these sorts of things that Kay can pick up, but she always will drop it climbing a ladder or whatever
this game. How many E11 blasters have I picked up that I then have to drop back on the ground, and I am furious every time it just falls off me when I have to go down a ladder. I go down a ladder, she can't figure out how to put it. Blaster or hold, like, it just drives me nuts, and it's a game mechanic, and I'm like, what's going on?
It's a choice, and it's interesting, but it's just like
it's a choice.
I think they're just like, you've got enough to think about, and honestly, as complex as it is, it's a very simple progression mechanic that I actually felt very comfortable with. It wasn't like overwhelming.
Yes,
there's a lot of ways to unlock cool stuff, but it's like it's all kind of hidden. It's like you do a mission and you get better, and it's kind of simple. But yes, I mean, like a sniper rifle is like. But I don't know. It's like the interactions are curated based on the weaponry available. So it's like sometimes you will be able to use I've used a rocket launcher. I've had awesome sniper rifles. I've had bad sniper rifles.
I picked some stuff up.
But it's like, you know what I mean? Like, they're trying to curate each experience, and like, Han Solo doesn't have 100 weapons wrapped around his body.
I was gonna say
no, you're right.
Much like Star Wars, right? They have their signature blaster and pick something else up, like, and it's gone. And I think, Ben, to use the word you used before, it's very organic, which is something I really appreciate about this game. The other thing I like about this game, the heads-up display, really not
almost to a fault. Like, I mean, I have a 75-inch TV screen, and I can't read a lot of the they're like prompting you to pull triggers and do things in these mini games, and I can't read it. It's too small.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the eating mini game where it's like, oh, it's right there. I gotta move the joystick. Right.
Yeah. I couldn't read it. Like, I might need to change the colors or something of the what it is. But you're right. It's a very uninvasive.
It's a minimalistic HUD.
It's a really nice HUD. Design. And I do like that you're sort of ad hoc picking up random heavy weapons, I guess, in different, like you're saying, Ben, curated in different areas.
I got so excited that I would have this rifle and be able to keep it, and then it just disappears. Like, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, and I don't think you need to keep it per se.
No. Well, I will say that it would be nice to have something a more permanent, non just blaster, like a rifle blaster. Like you know what I mean? Like, just so the other thing is, again, kind of build off what you said, Grant, is like you're mentioning all these things, which I agree 100% with all these, and I'm like, well, we know there's going to be DLC for this, right? And we know there's going to be, we don't know, but I'm guessing there'll be another game. Like, again, this is all stuff that we'll get in maybe some DLC, maybe.
It's really exciting is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Another game. Like, the fact that these are the things that we are nitpicking is good, right? Like, this is the stuff that can work on for a game too.
I know. Grant, what you were just saying, these games are kind of in vogue now. I don't know if you've ever played like mindfulness games or like games that are designed to just chill you out. But I was imagining if there was like a waypoint where you could like stop outside of a planet in like a safe zone and you like go into the chillest, like that when you get into your spaceship, you have one of the chillest like locations in the history of like starships. Like, it's just like all like a glass canopy with a dope leather couch and like a captain's chair bolted to the floor. And it's like so chill to be out there. Like, if you could go into that room and like play a jukebox and just like look at a planet while you're floating in space, that would just be like, and you could just like leave that run and just like let that run for as long as you want in the background. Like, that'd be pretty chill, and do photo mode and all that.
And then monitor for transmissions, right? And then you get a random transmission. There's like a distress call like that happens while you're just out there parked in space, like an emergent event or something. Like, to me, that's just so fun for the player. Like,
well,
I don't know.
You are all describing Star Wars Galaxies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is, as a bounty hunter, and you would send out the little probe droids that Darth Maul had in episode 1, and literally it would take hours for it to go scour all the other planets, and so I would just sit there like listening to music in my ship, just waiting until I got the transmission of like target acquired. And so I'd just be sitting there like just looking around, looking at my art, just like writing a paper while I was waiting. I would get target acquired, and I would just like swivel over and be like, boop, hop in and like cockpit and go get him.
Yeah, I think that's the final sort of thing that I'm looking for in a Star Wars game is character expression too, much like Star Wars Galaxies, where it's like I would love to customize my own character, and I would love to customize my ship, buy a different ship. Like, you have a game like Starfield that just came out in last year, and it is, you can customize your ship and kind of sort of build compartments and build new spaces within your ship and labs and sort of like containment rooms and all these sorts of different spaces and customize the ship to your liking. I don't even need that in Star Wars, essentially. I just need to be able to buy different models, right? Like if there's like 5 different models, and you can just buy a different model and then maybe paint job on the outside, and like Ben's saying, sort of change your living room or change your like habitation quarters. Like that's to me, that's like, and I don't need it as deep as a game like Starfield, but it would be fun if it's just like there's a few ships you can get. Like this game makes it an active part of the story that the ship you get is like a very important ship, and it's like iconic. And I think a lot of what this story is doing, it's just following the mold of all AAA games, which is here's the iconic filmic sort of like a movie AAA action adventure experience with all these bespoke characters that are iconic Star Wars characters, and this is now an iconic story, much like Survivor and Fallen Order, which I thought this was great. I thought this ranked with Survivor and Fallen Order in terms of like just how polished I think the experience was in terms of like meeting new characters and building new relationships and things like that. I do hope that Ubisoft might go into the realm of sort of like more character freedom in the future. Given that it's super fun to sort of like design your own experience.
I think it's not even Ubisoft. I think it's Lucasfilm, right? Because I think all of these have to fit into everything's canon now, and like just give us a video game where like this is open world, it's not canon, right? Which is what again Star Wars Galaxy was.
They could just,
I don't mean to keep saying that, but like just
us from running across like named characters. You just don't need to do it, and then like otherwise, like a bounty hunter game. Can we, now that we're an hour and 20 minutes into this podcast, can we just talk about what time period this is? Because they talk about it quickly. Is it after Empire Strikes Back, but before Return of the Jedi?
Yes. Pre-Empire, post-Empire, pre-return. Right. It's like where we are in the comics, basically.
Yeah. It's a pretty narrow. Yeah. You're right. It's where we've been in the comics for the past couple of years. Or year, I guess. Yeah. Are just getting out.
And rebels are just rebelling, like out in the open, like. Mm-hmm. Rebels are rebelling right now, pretty hard. Pretty hard. And it's just like I think you guys have already encountered rebels because I don't
it's in the
really know how you get through the early stages of the stories without. I think so. Yeah. There's a lot of rebel stuff in this game, the rebel lore, and man, there's some crazy. I really can't wait for part 2 of our conversation because like there are just Ben is sitting in front of me right now, and he just doesn't. The characters that appear in this game. He doesn't know anything about who you meet, what happens, and like I gotta say, having beat the game, like there's some pretty big moments ahead and big characters to come that I was just sitting there and just taking it all, but like Ben, you might pop on your couch, like you might,
which. What I like about the game is because they start you out very small, right? In terms of like if we're going where I think we're going, like it's nice that like they start you at the very lowest levels of these things, right? Which I appreciate it. And like it's the thing there's a moment in this game, 2 things happened at the very beginning where I was just like I was walking around a bar and it's just like listen, and I'm like yes, I'll listen, and then I got like a tip to something, or then I read a data pad. We're just like, well, this is now go over here. Like it felt like I feel like an outlaw, right? Like I feel like I'm actually in a cantina, getting like information. It's really seems really what I'm trying to do.
Need to listen for like vital missions, like there are some missions.
There's one mission I did that
basically
I had
won't be able to finish unless you listen for something. Yeah.
Which took me 15 minutes. I was wandering around this bar until finally like that popped up. I'm like, oh. Yeah. I walked past this place 5 times, apparently too fast.
Oh, man, there are some. Oh my goodness, there's some big moments. So, what planets have you guys been to?
First the one,
Canto Bight.
There's
Canto Bight, and then
we're past Canto Bight though, right? We all
okay, so that's
Toshara. We're 2 planets, right? We're acting like there's 1 planet.
Well, I just didn't count Canto Bight because that felt very much like a prologue.
Oh, I'm counting it.
Okay, well then I'm on 2 because I'm on Toshara.
Yeah. There we go.
Toshara.
Toshara, yeah.
Yeah, I've been all over Toshara on my speeder bike.
I love Toshara. That design and the city and What's it, Morgana City? That's like in the.
Yeah, when you go to Morgana City and you go over the bridge, and I'm like on my speeder bike going over the bridge, I'm like, this is sweet. Like just being on a speeder bike, I'm like, it's great. Yeah.
All right, fun game. Yeah, I'm itching to go back and play it. I haven't had that day yet where it's just like, all right, everyone can go away. It's quiet. I need a nice like rainy day, and I'm just gonna just murder this game for 8 hours and see like where I get. But it's like, I've just got so much to do, and I really like. I've been on Toshara for like hours and hours and hours, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stay here and do more stuff. Like I'd be like,
that's kind of where I'm at, Ben. You know?
Yeah. And like Adam says, I don't think the game really holds your hand. It's like,
no.
Do you want to leave Toshara? Because like I don't think the game like tells you should leave.
Nothing is forcing me to do it other than like if I keep playing the main quest, I'll get to that point. Because I know I'm rebuilding the starship that I'm on, but I'm like, I don't really want to do that.
There was a part of the main quest there that like held me up for a second, and then I was like, I could be stuck on Toshara forever because I just don't know how to do this. I just didn't understand like a certain upgrade or something. I just didn't know what to do. I was like, wait, who do I talk to, and like how do I find this favorite person on the map? And I was just stuck there, and for like I don't know 20 minutes, and I was just like, what is happening? How can I not progress in the main quest at least? And the Easter then eggs. I cracked it, and I was like, boom, 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 boom. I was moving fast. I was moving very fast after that. But there was something on Toshara that I was like, this is.
Yeah,
something with I don't know if you guys have met the first crewmate.
Maybe, but there's been a few of them where I've been a little delayed. But like when I was raiding one of the Crimson Dawn things, even though I'm like trying to work for the Crimson Dawn, I keep ending up like having to like raid them.
Got to make some tough decisions.
But like it's fine. I'm doing it in ways that are stealthy, so I'm not losing anything from them. Which it feels very Star Wars, right? I'm like totally a Han Solo move where I'm like, I'm totally working for you, and meanwhile I'm stealing everything out from underneath you. But like there's a moment I went into and got it, and there was a 3PO and a R2 droid next to each other, and I'm like, I almost took a picture. I'm like, that's just fun. Like it's not C3PO and R2D2, but like the fact that the designers just put them there, I'm like, that's that's just for me. I just turn around, I'm like, oh, look at that, wonderful,
that's fantastic.
Had an R3,
so many goodies like that.
Had an R3 mission. Had to help an R3 who was feeling bad about himself. Had a bad motivator. Had to help him fix that. That was fun. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun, man. That's fun. Yeah, deep game.
Okay, you guys got to play this game so we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's going to be end this podcast. I can probably pay for another 2 hours if we stop talking right now.
All right. Well, with all that, if you haven't got the game yet, get the game. It's fun. It's a total blast. Totally. You feel like you're in Star Wars. It's like definitely like the most immersive Star Wars game I think I've played yet.
Yeah,
and very tasteful and very fun. So right on, man. Next week, I'm not sure what we're gonna cover actually.
Comics.
We're gonna do comics next week. More comics this week. It's with we're doing the Star Wars main run.
Yeah, we'll do Star Wars main run 47, 48, 49, and the second half. Do you want to do the second half of the High Republic Adventures?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. All right, there you go.
Done and done.
All
so
right.
that is what we will be talking about next week. I raise my glass to you, both gentlemen, and cheers to all of you at home. Great sitting here chatting with you at the Cantina, and we will talk to you next week on Cantina Chronicles.